Hey everyone, welcome back to Product Unfiltered. Today we have a very special guest joining in, Neha Suresh, the founder of April, a Y Combinator backed startup. Neha, me and Rahul, we share a special bond because we are all alumnus of Carnegie Mellon's MSSM program. So super exciting episode. Hi Neha, welcome to Product Unfiltered. We are super excited to have you here.
Hi, Utkarsh Rahul. Thank you for having me. Doing really well. Very happy to be on a Product Unfiltered.
Perfect. So, Neha, before we kick off the conversation, we would love to give you the stage to explain more about April, what you guys are building there, and what's the current state of the startup.
Awesome. So, April, for context, is a voice AI executive assistant that helps you manage your inbox and calendar hands free. It's basically an iOS app, so you can just download it on your phone and get started immediately. You can connect multiple Gmail calendar accounts, and as you drive to work or as you're taking a walk or doing something screen free, you can speak with April and get a collection and get an understanding of what your email and your calendar schedule looks like. In terms of the product, we're already live on the App Store. We have a few customers. We are now a revenue generating company as well. YC has been a good 8 weeks experience
Awesome.
in that regard.
That's good to hear, Neha. So, tell us a bit more about your journey, right? What made you start building April? What was your journey like? Because we all come from actually the same cohort. I would say the CMU MSSM cohort. So, how was your journey doing masters at CMU and then entering into the startup ecosystem? How has your journey been so far?
I think it's been a lot of ups and downs. I wish it was a straightforward path, but it wasn't. I think right from the first time at CMU, the goal was to kind of build something, to get something out there. Came with a lot of engineering experience, was very familiar with the AI landscape, even at the time. So I knew I could be building something. I know Rahul and I had a lot of conversations where we apply to YC, what is the application status? And it was like that throughout my cohort as well. I think a lot of conversations revolved around which accelerators we'd applied to, which of our seniors were doing well in terms of their startups. And I think being in the Bay Area helped a lot because that was the primary exposure we got out of college. There wasn't much else to do apart from like get into the startup ecosystem.
Absolutely. Actually, that's something that was very fascinating. I still remember day one when Neha joined the MSSM program. I've always seen her building something. Vividly remember her initial startup, Not Hot Dog, a very interesting name for sure. And I've seen her transition multiple number of times and then coming to April. Just wanted to understand, Neha, how's your problem discovery phase been from starting something like a Not Hot Dog? And it would be great if you can explain users how you started off with that problem statement and how you were able to transition ultimately to building something like an April.
So Not Hot Dog is one of the ideas that actually took full form. There were a bunch of other things I tried before that did not work out, including an accessibility tool. I also built a Chrome extension that would help you find harmful chemicals in cosmetics. So a lot of things that I would kind of struggle with, I would build out some tools and put it out there. Some of them worked, most of them didn't. Not Hot Dog came into being because I was an engineer before and I knew that testing was a really challenging space. AI agents were evolving much faster than the testing landscape was evolving. And my thought process was that we build something that focuses on evaluating AI agents. My co-founder Akash was also a dev, so we could only think like devs. And that seemed like a very obvious, big problem to solve. But I think in hindsight, anything that seems obvious and there's no market pull, it becomes harder. And April came into being by an accident, actually. Akash and I went to a hackathon. We went to build this voice assistant that would get you to inbox zero. And we pitched it at the hackathon. We ended up winning the hackathon, and YC gave us an opportunity to interview with them. What happened between then and actually doing the YC interview was I built a website that said, hey, you can get to inbox zero in under 10 minutes using your voice when you drive. And I put it out on Reddit. I've done similar things previously as well, but for this time, I put out a Stripe link saying that pay $10 if you want this. And people paid money for it on a website, which to me, it goes over my head. Like, how would somebody do this? It was an ugly website. It was not even a nice looking website. But that's why we built the conviction that this was something that a lot of the people wanted. I built a strong waitlist out of that. And that's how we got the conviction to switch out from Not Hot Dog into April.
That's very interesting to know, Neha. I mean, a lot of people who are in the similar stage of their life or journey today struggle thinking, when will I hit the right idea and I'll actually start building? And from your experience and from your journey, it came out very naturally, right? You went to a hackathon with an idea, and over the hackathon, it got validated by winning the hackathon and people actually encouraging you to continue building that path. And then the Reddit journey happened. So, what would be your advice to people who are in the similar mindset today that, hey, maybe they are working full time somewhere and they have this notion in the head that, hey, someday I want to build something, but I'm waiting for that concrete idea to come to my mind so that I'll start building? What would your advice be?
Ideas are dime a dozen. If you've thought of it, 1,000 people have thought of it already. 100 people are working on it. 2 people have shipped already. The only way you win is execution. Find a problem that you're struggling with, build a solution that you would pay money for, and build it for the rest of the world. Because you are not so unique that a problem that you suffer from is something only you suffer from. You are an archetype of people, and there are a bunch of other people who are suffering from the same challenges.
Yeah, like I have a question here. Like, I think me and Rahul, we both have been in that place where we think about a problem. That problem sounds very exciting to solve. There's definitely a problem out in the market, and if you build a solution, there are people who really want the solution. But there is also business viability. If you are able to maintain the unit economics, and if you are able to really scale it, seeing 5 or 10 years down the line. So when you think about problems, specifically with April, okay, finding a product fit is one thing. I'm sure that your Reddit journey really helped you find that product fit in the market. But what about that business and the revenue fit? Is that a conversation that you guys had very initially when you thought of going full time into building April? Or that is something that you explore as the journey goes on? For example, during fundraising, etc.
So when you start building something, like I said before, you have to see that it is something that you're willing to pay money for. When you're even validating the problem, think of yourself as a consumer. Will you pay money for it? How much is later? How much is the unit economics you can figure out later? But will you pay money for it? Will you take out your credit card and put in that credit card for somebody to auto charge you? That is the first step of validation. Second is like do things that don't scale. Start like get 100 people to like your product. That itself is a big challenge. Once you get to that horizon, then you look at the next stage. You can figure out unit economics.
Okay.
It's not impossible to figure out. Finding 100 people who will pay for your product and use it is the real validation.
That makes sense. Yes. I believe finding the initial audience is the most difficult part. I think it's a very famous saying, finding a first customer is the most difficult part, and the next is finding the next 100. But yeah, I think that completely makes sense. So what's the current stage of April, Neha? I know you guys are busy with a lot of fundraising, and you said that it's already a revenue making startup, but talk us more about the product. Like, how does the product roadmap look like, and where are you seeing yourself in the next 6 to 12 months?
So we've built a product that already works on Gmail and Google Calendar, and we have like a bunch of customers already who are already giving us a lot of feedback. So we are adding more integrations to help a bigger set of our audience. Some people are really dependent on Outlook. Outlook is the next integration. Slack is something people want voice interface to. We're doing Slack right away. And as more requests come in, so I have a bunch of feature requests that people are asking for, like multiple accounts, different services, WhatsApp, Notion, all of those integrations. But we have to prioritize and figure out what we're building next and what will add the most value to our customers.
Can you give us a use case, Neha, which today April solves, and maybe a use case which you envision at least that, hey, 6 months down the line, this is the use case which definitely April will be solving?
Absolutely. So today, if you start using it on day 0, you can ask April what your schedule looks like. Like say we had a meeting scheduled today. So typically in the morning, I'm like, hey, April, can you tell me what's on my calendar today? And April will tell me all the meetings I have to take part in. And because I know Rahul, I remember the context, but there are a lot of people I'm meeting for the very first time. I have no recollection of why I'm meeting them. And I will ask April, hey, can you tell me if we've interacted on email before? And most often there's an email thread to it. And then April will summarize saying, hey, this is the conversation. This is what it's likely to be about. And that really gives me a quick insight into what I have to speak and get like an immediate mental prep. That is what April already does today. It also helps me get to inbox 0, which is another use case. Like I go through all my email, I'll tell April delete all of this, archive this, foreign emails, I need to send replies. That kind of thing is already done. But in 6 months, April will do the same for multiple accounts that I'm connected with. If I have an Outlook and a Gmail and a Slack, April will fetch context from all these sources and give me a much more powerful summary of what and who I'm meeting and what the meeting is about. Another thing is April is learning from me. So if I tell April that, hey, over the next 6 months, the important people that I have to interact with are like 10 people. April will help me prioritize meetings with those 10 people at the start of the month, at the start of the week, at the start of the day. So when I run a calendar audit at the end of 6 months, I know that I have prioritized the right things and help me accomplish my business goals.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Neha, is there a specific user segment that you guys are targeting for with respect to April?
Initially, we're targeting founders, investors, and heads of sales, engineering, and marketing, because that's where the email inbound is very high and the calendar is extremely full. And for these people, like 30 minutes of drive time is very precious. If I'm able to give it back to them, it gives them a lot of value.
So the notion, at least that's what is going my head, is it's gonna be a B2B product, more or less, like more of enterprise use cases will evolve out of April, wherein you will integrate with some enterprises saying that, hey, for your employees, this is the product which will increase their productivity in managing their inboxes and other communication channel better.
No, we're starting with prosumers. We're focusing on the individuals who are struggling with this, and we want to get to them. And when we will eventually probably get to enterprise. The goal is now for the individuals who are struggling, who don't have EAs or even have EAs and are not able to manage their schedule. Obviously, voice as the interface for workplace communication is what the future is about. We are building with that vision that in 5 years, everything is going to happen via voice. And we're going really early and we're targeting the individuals. So they start using our product, get used to the interface, and later they will champion us in their enterprise and then we can go there.
I think I'm personally very bullish on this part, that voice is definitely the future of a lot of interactions that will happen. But at the same time, Neha, in the past 1-2 years, since there have been a lot of GenAI startups which have emerged, one trend that we have been seeing is as the foundational models over which these startups have been built progresses. With the progression of that foundation model, we have seen a lot of GenAI startups getting shut down within a matter of just weeks or months. For example, ChatGPT recently rolled out an integration which could help you record, summarize all the meetings. And there were many startups like Otter AI which were built on the foundation of using generative AI and helping you summarize things like that. So with respect to April, maybe in the future, Gemini gives a voice integration with Gmail. So how do you think that you guys will differentiate yourself in that kind of market, or the foundation models becoming even better in the future?
If I had $1 every time everybody asked me this question, I'll already be like a millionaire. Gemini will build a voice assistant for Gmail for the Google Work Suite, but it's not going to build an executive assistant at any point in time.
But how is executive assistant different from a normal assistant? Like me and Rahul are product managers, and we would also love something like April, which could help us manage a lot of emails because we need to stay connected with a lot of stakeholders, which I feel there is a lot of overlap with a founder or an investor who is very much into collaboration and connecting with a lot of people. Don't you think that there is a huge overlap between very similar user personas that companies like Google or Microsoft could target in the future?
The user personas are different. I'm going after execs. Definitely, if PMs use it's great. Execs have a very different way of triaging emails. Like a lot of the people I'm working with, they have 7 levels of subfolders in Gmail. I don't have that. I don't know a lot of PMs who have that. I don't know any engineers who have that. As an engineer myself, the way I will use email is like, hey, did my manager message me? Did I get an email from the team? And I get done. But the higher you go and up the corporate ladder, email becomes like the single source of truth for every single thing. And for this kind of prosumer use case, I don't think Google is ever going to build like a personalized product that's going to help.
But Neha, one of
the voice client, yeah, they will do it. And plus, we're already building integrations with so many other tools. Google will never integrate with Microsoft. There ends the story. Google will never get permission to integrate with Slack.
That's true, but one of the challenges which at least I see in enterprises right now is they restrict us to engage with a lot of AI tools, right? Because of privacy concerns, compliance concerns. So what differentiates you wherein you, for example, let's say come to me and then you say, hey Rahul, I want you to use April and you need to integrate your Outlook, your April, wherein my enterprise is not allowing me to use or leverage these AI tools. So how do you tackle that challenge?
More often than not, enterprises restrict enterprise licenses, but they don't restrict individual accounts. I know people are using it at the enterprise level. We've given them, Google has a very long run security process. Microsoft has a very long run security process. Only once you clear every step in that process, they give you access to those APIs. And only with that, I'm able to actually make April work today. So the people who are more or less aware of how things are, the individuals, are willing to use April because they know it's already secure. I'm already purging all the data at the end of the session. But as an enterprise, when you have to release an enterprise license, then there is a lot more complications in terms of 100 other compliances,
Mm-hmm.
which an enterprise will not give you. But I'm pretty sure you use your work email to like authenticate a bunch of other services already.
Mm-hmm.
As an individual, if the problem is strong, you will just use it.
You will use it, and I personally believe it's just matter of time in the next 3 4 5 years as more trust grows with all these generative AI tools. It will become very normalized for individuals like us to trust linking our emails with these services, provided the companies are okay with it, which I personally believe there will be a radical shift in how companies look certain AI's tools and companies. Since I believe, since Neha, you guys are targeting founders and execs. So when you talk about execs, are these execs of big companies, like the big tech companies, or execs of startups or very early stage companies? Got it.
How did you identify this initial set of personas? Because you don't belong to the exec suite, right? So how do you resonate with their problem? How did you discover that problem when you were going to the hackathon, that, hey, this is the problem statement I'm trying to solve?
So it started off as a voice client for email, something that you, Rahul and Utkarsh could use as well. Because
Mm-hmm.
I was driving from SF to Berkeley, and I was like, I have like 50, 100 emails coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I've started living more in my emails now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I just want to get this email part done. The goal of the hackathon was we go build this, we use it from tomorrow. They're giving us free pizza for the day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to actually take care of anything else. This one day I'm going to build this. But the more we thought about it, it made like much better sense to build something that's very useful for execs. So we've done a lot of customer discovery. I've spent so much time talking to these busy people. I've spent a lot of time talking to executive assistants to
Mm-hmm.
learn how they manage the calendars of their execs. It's so fun. There's so much to learn, and there's so much more to email and calendar scheduling than as an individual I would ever know.
Mm-hmm.
Very much resonate with the problem statement that Neha is targeting. We are not execs or we are not founders, but I still feel the overall process of managing email to be very tedious and very time consuming. So maybe something like April, if Neha and team in the future plans to build something for the PMs, I think that's definitely something I would love to try.
You should try it absolutely because it will work for you already.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. I would definitely love to give it a try. But super interesting problem statement, Neha.
Okay. So now, Neha, thanks for sharing firstly all the insights about April and how your journey has been. But we are also very intrigued to know about your YC experience so far. Because a lot of founders these days, because there's so many startups, I would say, emerging on day-to-day basis, that everyone is struggling to get into incubators and accelerators and find a career path there, right? So tell us more about how your experience has been so far with YC. What are some of the merits and demerits they have helped you with over the journey, and some of the things you think could have been done better for you, or some of the things which you expect some other players to help you around the journey, some things which early stage founders can learn from this?
From YC alone, I have like zero complaints, except that it was too short. It is an
Mhm.
8 weeks batch. If it was longer, it would be great. But as they say, YC never ends. Apart from that, like anything that an early stage founder needs, YC has a team. Like their partners have done it. They've done it multiple times. They've seen thousands of companies make the same mistakes. So it feels like somehow a God is speaking to you, already looking at your future.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much insight, and the system is so well structured that I literally have no complaints. If you take yourself and put yourself in the smartest set of people, the smartest set of advisors, what will you actually complain about? I don't know. The pace is so fast, everybody's so motivated. Your dedicated group partner helps you so much in like hitting your next milestones. It just keeps you on track. You literally just I don't know that so much could be done in 8 weeks. I validated a problem idea. We built out an app. We fought with Google to get access to this. We launched it. We got customers. We got feedback from customers and released again. All of this in 8 weeks, and I've done half my fundraise as well. They set a new bar for how much can be done in life in 8 weeks.
So Neha, what's the secret mantra to get into the YC? You mentioned you even validated the problem statement within those 8 weeks. So that means the problem statement with which you applied for YC was very initial, was very rudimentary in the initial stage. What are some qualities that YC looks in these individuals who get selected? YC is a very coveted program, so I'm sure there must be many individuals with running applications, maybe with validated POCs, applying but still not getting selected. So what's your experience been there connecting with more startups and individuals in YC?
I don't know. They have like a very good way of finding smart, hardworking people who have like a very strong goal to executing. And I think your power to execute somewhere reflects in your application. How fast you're executing, how much you're trying, how committed you are. Because YC is not like college. It's not something you go and then it's done because you got the badge. You have
Yeah.
to have that hustle thing in you. This was not my first YC application. I've applied like a bunch of times, interviewed, gotten rejected, gotten the top 10% emails, and like been so frustrated that what do I do with this email? I don't know. This time was very different for us because we did not apply in the first place. We won the hackathon. They loved the product. Our whole YC interview was the product demo.
Oh, wow.
They literally just use the product and like, okay, this is great. This is something we've been waiting to see. And they also obviously they interact, and how they gauge people is something that's beyond me. But they managed to find like the smartest people and then put them all together.
But what's a common element that you find in all the YC founders that are in
Speed
India?
of execution.
Speed of execution? Okay.
Something that you and I speak today will probably be done in a couple hours, and they will have an update. Very fast execution. The bar for execution is very, very high.
And what about perfection? Is that something
You don't
they,
need perfection. No, you don't need perfection.
like they're not looking for great engineers or people who are very good or they excel at their work. They're actually looking for people who can execute really well, who are passionate about the problem statement, and maybe they look for the perseverance, if I can put that.
Perseverance, definitely, because it's a long 10-year journey ahead of you. YC is just like the start. It's like just the beginning.
But Neha, you and Akash both come from a technical background, right? Not just about YC. I mean, talk about YC, how has been with both technical founders, but in general with April and with other startups you have been trying to build. What is your experience being with two technical co-founders or founders being together? Does it help? Are there areas where you struggle with? What's your take on this?
I love having two technical founders. It just helps you build very fast.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that would have been like maybe better is like both of us are not very how do I say, camera facing, if you will. You need to be out there more often. You need to be more present in the social media world, is something that both of us are not very active on. And we've tried to like fix that. And I think as a tech person, it's easier for you to acquire non-tech skills rather than the other way around. Even though now with AI, I think everybody's more or less even. That is my initial slight thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that me and Rahul were discussing yesterday. If somebody wants to build a startup in this generative AI era, with all the developments happening and people able to build quick prototypes without actually needing to code, what has been one trend that you're seeing in San Francisco or in Y Combinator? Are you seeing founders who come from technical background? They're not very business oriented in the start, but they ultimately figure it out, or the other way around, business people are still, because they have the right tools and the mechanisms to build something and show it to the investors, catching up some funding, hiring some technical counterparts, and then building the business going forward. Is there a trend that you are seeing particularly between A and B?
I think it's impossible, or I could be wrong, but I don't think there's anybody without an engineer. You do have one engineer at least on your team who helps you build out quickly. Domain knowledge is great. Like if you have a person who's got deep domain knowledge and one engineer, then you're like the perfect team.
Mm-hmm.
That is the perfect team. One domain expert, one engineering expert. Then you have like a match made in heaven. But the rest of us mortals are like figuring out with two tech people how to get this thing up and running.
It's definitely the option A, when mostly it's the tech founders who come together and they can still find the way, rather than completely purely business oriented people trying to build something. And
I haven't seen only business people build. I could be very wrong though.
But do you think they are going forward with after generative AI, building applications have become so easy? The opposite scenario could become feasible, but you don't need engineers or technical founders.
I'm very bullish on engineers.
Mm-hmm.
You can build a prototype with a completely non-tech person, but building an application that scales to even 100,000 users, I think you need an engineer. Somebody who's done it before, or somebody who will figure out how to do it. If the non-tech person is very bullish on learning how to do tech the proper way, without just cloud code is good, is great. We use it for building on something, but the structure, the fundamentals, you need someone who knows it, or somebody who's willing to learn how to get that up and running.
But what are some of the unique technical challenges which you are seeing in this agentic AI world? Like some of the things which typical software development cycles didn't had. All this new AI product building has brought some new technical challenges. Any thoughts there?
It has brought challenges in the way that your code gets bloated, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because using Gen AI, you tend to bloat your code. You tend to not know 100% of what's going on. I don't think that was true before. You knew 100% of what was going on. LLMs sometimes still do behave in ways that you don't want it to behave. That is one challenge. Apart from that, I think Gen AI has just only done good. The speed of execution has become like 10x.
Mm-hmm.
Revenue growth has become much faster. People are hitting their Series A much, much faster. Yeah.
But when you are trying to build something new, how do you decide between should I leverage something off the shelf platforms or tools which are out there, or should I build something in house completely customizing to my problem statement?
It depends on the use case, Rahul. If you're building just a prototype to validate your problem, use something off the shelf, build it and then validate. If you're going to build it and scale it out, you'll have to take a much more well thought out decision
Mm-hmm.
on how you can execute fast while still having enough control over the system.
Okay.
And what about hiring, Neha? Hiring for early stage startups that are specifically generative AI focused, or even if they are just tech based startups, but with all these Gen AI tools out there, Cloud Code, etc., have they changed the overall hiring landscape where instead of you needing to hire more early stage engineers, the AI applications are able to help founders to scale it to that level?
I mean, I guess they are helping you scale to a certain extent, but at one point you do need engineers.
Mm-hmm.
We ourselves are looking for an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Even though
Okay.
we have people, we
Yeah.
have to build even faster. So we are looking for an engineer.
Also throw some lights on user experience, Neha, because that's one area I think a lot of people I see today are struggling with this whole new era of engaging with the tools and technologies coming out. How do you see user experience evolving over time? Because now voice is something which is coming out as a new user experience in itself for the end users, right? So there are a lot of things which the customers or the users don't know what they will be seeing in the future. So how as founder you are thinking about user experience? What are some of the newer trends which you are seeing in the market?
User experience, I think it's rightfully gotten its place at the top again.
Mm-hmm.
I think design, interface, experience was something that we neglected for a while and we had like ugly applications. Now it's again become very critical. And I think the way to build a good user experience is to be a very critical user yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Use your own product and find everything that's wrong with it. Be your harshest critic, because we do that. When I build something, Akash will be like my harshest critic on how bad it is. And I do the same when he builds something. I'm like, this is not usable. He does the same. By just doing this exercise repeatedly, you're able to get a somewhat decent user experience. And people will tell you if it's not nice. That's something that's great about the world. If you pay for something and you don't like it, you will make sure that the person who built it gets to know.
Mm-hmm.
At least our customers have been very vocal about things that they want, things that they did not like.
What are some of your feedback channels, Neha? How do you get these feedbacks? Talking to customers is one thing, but I'm sure since you are in that scaling stage, you must be getting feedback from various different sources. So can you just share some light on that? More importantly, I'm interested in what have been the feedback channels that have really worked for you guys.
So we have email as an open channel. We're open on Twitter and LinkedIn. We get feedback across these three, but our main feedback is users have figured out that if you tell April, hey, send feedback to the founding team, we get the feedback.
Nice.
So we built that in as an Easter egg, but a lot of people figured it out, so we get a lot of feedback that way.
Amazing.
That's really cool.
That's really cool. And you know what? That's something really interesting that I found post this Gen AI era. I believe there were some design frameworks that were being followed in SaaS, which have completely changed because of Gen AI. New applications coming in, for example, voice as an interface. We were only using Siri or Google Assistant for a voice-based interface, but with applications like April coming in, I believe this is a very interesting era that has started. But on the same point, Neha, how do you guys educate users about these very clever features that you have inbuilt within your application? Okay, April, just give this feedback to the founding team. I think that's really clever, but how do you go about user education in these scenarios?
Voice is very easy to educate the user. So anything that you don't know, you just ask, like, how do I tell this to the team? And April will tell you, like, do you want me to send the feedback to the team? And then they get it sent. Anything that you don't know, you ask April, because April is kind of intelligent. It guides you, it breaks down the steps. There are some times where even I get stuck. Like, I need to do this email workflow, but I don't know how to do it. But we built a system that has a complete knowledge of email architecture. And I'll be like, how do I do this particular workflow? And then April will tell me. That way, voice is great. That way, Gen AI is amazing.
But they are on the same point. Don't you think that folks specifically who have been in the tech for some time, I believe, though it's very common sense thing that okay, just go to voice and ask it. But because we have so much, twinned with the existing way we can interact with the application, there are many common sense things which we often ignore. For example, the same thing that you mentioned, I often use ChatGPT, and there are many basic common sense things which I could just ask and get it through. But because I have been wired in a way that I'm not able to think about those very simple common sense things. So that was actually something that I was trying to gauge from you, that despite it being very simple and a common sense associated thing, but still users often ignore that would change with time. But
No,
yeah,
that's a very fair point. I think it's very important to have meaningful FAQs somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
have people to chat and figure out how to get things done. But I think FAQs is the conventional way. Even if I don't know how to do something, I'm always looking up the application, seeing if they have any FAQs. But that's something we also haven't figured out 100% yet. We're relying on our users to be very intelligent, which so far they've turned out to be. But it does make sense to give them a
No, but I think it makes sense. I mean, that's why I personally am so bullish about voice, because it's the natural way of how humankind have been communicating with each other, right? Over this SaaS tools, we have built a new layer of communication, but naturally we speak out what we want to or what we are struggling with, rather than we typing it out or we figuring it out. So that's a natural shift which will bring in the user experience. Like, be vocal, be share what's going on. But it also brings one of the critical challenges of supporting multilingual solutions to our users, right? So how do you now see supporting that? Because once you go global, there'll be multiple dialects, multiple regionality challenges which you need to address. So as a founder, how would you trade off between these things in terms of going local versus going more global and saying, hey, the standardized language which I support is English, for example?
We went multilingual from the start.
Okay.
April supports multiple languages. A few Indian languages we do not support at this point. But wherever LLMs work, wherever 11 Labs works, we are able to support those languages already.
oh great.
That is a problem that somebody else has already solved. We're just making sure we use it well, so we're able to get it across. But the dialects is still a challenge. I think it's a long-term problem to solve. Our app works in French, but our French users are like, this is Canadian French. It's not the local French. And it's something we're figuring out. How do we get it to the local French? Because I have no idea how local French is different
Exactly.
from Canadian French.
Yeah. And one more thing, Neha, around the same LLMs, because we're discussing about LLMs. I think, Rahul, one application that me and Rahul were able to build when we were at CMU was Maestro AI. We built this AI application for product managers who could really help automate and brainstorm on a lot of things. And one very interesting observation that we found was how LLM is as good as the context it is able to understand from you. Now, since you already mentioned that April gets a lot of context, not only from the emails and all the threads which have been through, but also you have an interface where the user can let April know that, okay, this is the most important things to me at this point of time. But apart from that, Neha, like if I ask some vague questions to ChatGPT, despite ChatGPT knowing a lot of context, it will be only able to give me quality responses if it is able to ask me some follow-up questions. So along the same lines, is April more of a conversational thing where it will ask you some follow-up questions, get better context, and then provide you a refined output? Or that's something that you have seen doesn't apply much to the problem statement that you guys are solving?
Doesn't really apply too much because you're going to get certain things done. Obviously, you can converse with it, but it's something that you will initiate. As a user, if you want conversation, you will ask like, hey, can you tell me this? Then April goes into the details. But in general, the types of questions that we address is very context heavy, is very context focused in general itself.
The user will by default give the necessary context. It's not a push thing from April that it will have to push user and nudge user to give more context. Yeah.
Okay, I think there are a lot of good discussions which we have had so far, and we'll try to wrap it up with a few questions here and there. But it so happened last week I went to CMU for one of the lectures for product management class, and it was focused on AI product management. And a lot of questions which came out from students were, hey, we are all trying to build different products and take it out to the market. One thing which we are really struggling with the GTM strategy is how do we get some early adopters or early stage customers who can provide feedback, whether it be a good feedback or whether it not be, but at least we hear from people. So any thoughts there? Because for you, it happened through Reddit and through the website which you created. People shared feedback, you validated your ideas. That's a very good and innovative approach, I would say, which people should definitely think of. But any other thoughts you have there for early stage people who are trying to build things? How to get those early feedback from different users?
You will not get feedback from users if you're not solving their problem. If you're solving a problem that people are struggling with, they will try it out. You just have to put it in front of them. That could be wherever you are most present. If you have like a big LinkedIn user base, put it there. If you're anonymous, low-key like us, put it on Reddit. Find the right subreddits to post it, tweet about it. And if somebody else resonates with the problem, they will definitely try. Especially if you're not putting a paywall at the start, people will try it. It's very problem specific. the question that you're asking. If it's like an enterprise problem, you have to find that right person in the enterprise who's suffering from that problem and put it in front of his face that, hey, this is your problem, this is what I've solved. If it's more consumer, a more generic problem, then you can post it anywhere and people will come. But I guess this is what we've learned in product management as well, right? User interviews. Before you even build something, you do some user interviews. And once you know who your problem persona is, you just give it to them.
That's very fair. I think that's one of the fundamental pieces which I was also trying to communicate to the class, that the core pieces of product management still remains true, wherein you need to have that customer empathy, you validate your ideas with them, you understand their problem statement to the core, because somehow it has happened that everyone has started thinking of this AI as the universal key to any problem, and now people have a solution in mind and then they are chasing to see what problem can this solution solve. So that's one of the things I've been
works.
Yeah.
Never works.
And
Solution. If you don't have a problem, it's not going to be helpful.
Absolutely. And Neha, I know we are short on time, but one discussion that definitely me and Rahul wanted to have is about your plan getting into the startup, specifically you and Akash coming from big techs. You have worked with Zoho for quite some time. Akash has worked with Apple. So was that always a plan, like working with these big techs, getting some experience and starting something, coming to the Silicon Valley, or that happened organically?
That was very organic. It
That
was
was
never in my mind, not in my conscious mind at least.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Come here to build a startup. I came here to get into big tech.
Oh, you came? Oh, wow. Honestly, my hunch was actually the opposite. I still remember our days when me and Rahul were building this product unfiltered and building a few things. Rahul used to mention me that, I have these conversations with Neha. She's also part of the MSSM cohort and she's very entrepreneurial. Like she loves building things and exploring stuff. So I always thought that that's always your plan, coming to Silicon Valley, building few things. Okay. And also Neha, just
That got to me. I did not come to
But Neha, just talk us through your experience as an international immigrant, as an immigrant in the United States, building a startup, navigating through all the visa challenges, etc. How's your journey been? And more importantly, was there a plan B in your mind, or you were very firm that okay, it's either we getting into entrepreneurship and making it successful, or no plan B? Like just wanted to understand that.
I'll answer the second question first. I think that's an easier answer. There was no plan B. If you have a plan B, you always take plan B. Set yourself on fire and then you will be amazed at how much you can accomplish. I was not applying for jobs. I think Rahul had also asked me at one point, he was like, get a job. It's an easier backup. I never applied for a single job, but I got multiple job offers. I would meet with so many people, just discuss my ideas and they would try to hire me. And I said no every single time. Obviously, there have been moments of doubt, maybe where I made the wrong decision. CMU is an expensive school.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, I have student debt. What am I going to do? But I just put myself on fire. And I think the whole duration of my master's, I was just working on it. And somehow things fell into place. In hindsight, it feels like serendipity. But I know there were moments where I was just struggling with everything, seeing all my friends like get jobs, move on ahead. It's very challenging. You're happy for them. At the same time, you feel a little regret that maybe if you had tried, you would have gotten there as well. But I'm happy now that I took the bet on myself.
But if during this time, anytime you feel that, okay, maybe my friends are working in the big tech, they have a specific 9 to 5 job, Saturdays and Sundays are open. Where are you talking to investors, hustling 7 days a week? Is that something that you really feel right now?
Not very often because I like what I'm doing. I don't feel it. But then sometimes when you're unwell or you're just exhausted, then you're like, oh shit, I don't even have a day off. And then because it's your own company, you can just take the day off as well. So that instant it gets reset. You're like, okay, I don't have to answer anyone. I'm not well. I take half a day off and then I work. So that happens.
Okay. One last question before we'll end up the discussion with a couple of rapid fire questions to you. Because a lot of people have actually been reaching out to us and they're all going through the same hustle of this visa status and being an immigrant here. So burst some myths, because a lot of people are always worried that, hey, I'm in my student visa, I'll enter my work visa, I'll not be able to build something of my own because my visa status wouldn't permit it. Tell us a bit about it. How did you thought about it? What were some of the challenges which you were thinking related to visa? And how are you addressing those going forward?
So my goal was to build a business and make sure my visa works for it. So you have lawyers who help you with this kind of stuff. Once you have something up and running, you speak to your lawyers. This is their whole life. This is their job to make sure that if you want to build something, they help you with your visa conditions. It's not impossible. Everything is possible. I guess just reach out to the lawyers. If you look at it as a way to stop you, it will stop you. If you look at it as one of the challenges you have, you will find a way to solve that problem.
Okay, that's a very important takeaway, I think, to all the listeners out there. Visa, I know you can think of it as an obstacle, but I would rather say think of it as an opportunity which has given you an exposure to a world where you are right now. And as Neha mentioned, if you think of it as a challenge, it will always pose you as a challenge. But there are people to help you out there and figure it out. And lots of people have done it in the past. It's not that we are the first ones to do it. There are enough examples who have gone through the journey. Okay, so with that, we will jump into a rapid fire round because I know, Neha, we are running short of time. We will have a couple of rapid fires to you just to understand what is your mindset and thought process regarding this whole agentic AI space or the AI space. But let's start on a bit lighter note. If you want to share some books, resources, or habits that have made you a better founder in this whole AI landscape.
Okay. Habit is like just execute. Set daily sprints. Weekly sprints is for big tech. 2 week sprint is for very, very big tech. Have things like have 8-hour sprints. Get things done. And then you can relax. I think that's like the number one thing you have to do. Keep your goals in front of you. I have a big whiteboard in my house where we've written out things that we want to execute for the year. And every time we think of something new, we just go add it. Once it's done, strike it out. Keep it visual. Nothing lives forever in your mind. In terms of books, I think I just have the book literally. I have Shoe Dog in front of me. I've been reading this. It just tells you the story of how Nike came into existence. And the problems are not very different. They went through the same problems. We are going through the same problems. 10 years later, when somebody builds a startup, they will go through the same problems. What keeps you alive is your fire, is your motivation to keep doing something that matters to you. And I guess just don't die.
Yeah, that's very true. So the next one is one prediction for agentic AI in 2026 that most people would disagree with you on.
Voice is going to be very big in 2026. It's going to be there in more places than you can imagine.
Okay,
So I won't disagree on that, but yeah, I can assume many people would.
A lot of people are not very bullish on voice, but I'm very, very pro voice right now.
Okay, if you could have one celebrity use April, who would it be and why?
Sam Altman.
Okay. Any particular reasons why you want Sam Altman to try and not Musk?
No, wait, I don't think so. She needs to give a reason why Sam Altman to try April. But yeah.
Okay, we will end with one of these. What's one of the most wildest or creative use case you have seen so far for April, which people have used it for?
I have this user who has, like I told you, right, 7 levels of Gmail subfolders. I never knew you could do that. His whole routine is like go through the emails, file it under different use cases. And then he does it on loop. It's very creative. I've seen people block time for dates and stuff, so that's also very wild.
So now you have gotten access to their calendar, so you can understand how different.
Somebody who did it in front of me. I don't have access to calendars. One guy was like in front of me. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to use this. You want to see?" And then he blocked it. It was very fun. People have different use cases. It's very interesting.
That's one of the good part of the AI, I would say. Like every day you somehow hear some use case which you would never think of. And then somehow it's getting natural day by day that, hey, yeah, this is the definite use case which AI should address for me. And that's where a lot of product building, at least for me in my workplace, has been that many times we were all building products first by getting use cases from our customers. But now that notion has changed because a lot of time our customers don't know what use cases we can bring it for them. So we try to understand the core problem which they are going through, and then we built on top of it that, hey, there are a number of use cases which can be solved with this problem statement.
Absolutely.
That's great.
So there's one question from my side also regarding this fire round. Every LinkedIn post most of the LinkedIn posts that I catch, which Neha posts, usually around hustle of Neha and Akash while building April. So my question is, on an average, how many hours do you invest building April every day?
I've been doing 14 hours a day.
Wow.
For a while now.
Wow.
Okay, that speaks for the product itself, right? If you have that level of dedication and that grit that, hey, this product will shape out well. I mean, it's a journey. We don't know what shape April will take in the future, but we know that, hey, Neha and Akash are building it, it'll be in the right shape. So that speaks for it a lot. But thank you so much, Neha, for taking out time and being the first guest for this new AI Builder series, which we are trying to bring out and let people also explore and understand from the lens of you in terms of how building in this whole AI era has been so far. And what are some of the things you are bullish at, so that people who are listening to this, they can also start exploring what are some of the use cases. If Neha says that, hey, voice is the future, there can be hundreds or thousands of use cases which will emerge out of voice as well. So it'll be a good exercise for early stage product managers or product builders who are listening to it start exploring things. Would it be fine, Neha, if they reach out to you on LinkedIn, or would you recommend? Okay, so reach out to Neha and Akash both on LinkedIn. I know they are running busy, but I'm sure Neha will definitely take out some time to help mentor people and understand their vision of how things will shape. But this officially brings us to the end of today's podcast. Hope our listeners have learned something new, and we'll try to bring in more such exciting guests who are trying to navigate their journey in this AI era. Stay tuned for more such exciting episodes. Thank you so much for tuning into Product Unfiltered.